Football star with Shaq's power, from reject to unstoppable legend. Please like, share, and subscribe. Episode 31, Bottleneck. What is a bottleneck? Even if Luo Ye doesn't show his long-range shooting ability, he will still get the chance to start. This is because his aerial threat is always there. With Luo Ye at the front, the team's forward strength is absolutely guaranteed. Luo Ye can provide a lot of confrontation and impact. Sometimes even if he cannot score, he can use his confrontation and impact to consume the opponent, thereby providing space and opportunities for the attackers in the back row. And now, Luo Ye suddenly showed a very stable long-range shooting ability. This really made Hanks and his coaching staff feel a bit sudden and also a bit surprised. If Luo Ye can consistently show his long-range shooting, he will be an even greater threat to the goal. It is naturally more difficult to defend. The away game against Bayern Munich is a great test for Leverkusen. Although Bayern was not in good form at the beginning of the game, it seems that they have recovered their form now. A series of 3 consecutive victories has brought Bayern back to the top of the standings. Bayern has always been the strongest contender for the Bundesliga title. Hanks immediately decided to let Luo Ye try a few more kicks. Turn out. Luo Ye's long-range shot is indeed very reliable. The ball speed is ridiculously fast. Accuracy is enough. The goalkeeper must concentrate to make a save. Sometimes even if he saves, he may not be able to stop the goal. If there is no one to guard against his long-range shots. When Hanks thought of that scene, he couldn't help but mourn for what happened next to Bayern Munich. This guy. I must be holding back my bad feelings and want to explode in this game. He is negotiating a contract with Bayern. Assistant coach Herman said. Hanks nodded. Although he is considered a Bayern legend, he is now the head coach of Leverkusen and everyone has his own boss. He does not have to save money for Bayern and Luo Ye also deserves a big contract. At the pre-match press conference, Luo Ye, who was loaned to Leverkusen from Bayern Munich and became the most watched newcomer in the league this season, is obviously the biggest topic on both sides. Of course he will continue to start. I don't think his scoring rate has dropped. Even in the last 3 league rounds, he has scored 2 goals. The goal efficiency of scoring 2 goals in 3 rounds is also very high. Even if it's impossible for Messi and Ronaldo to score in every game. Hanks said in response to questions from reporters. His characteristics are too single, isn't he? He has been studied thoroughly. He can only rely on headers to hit the goal. Any team can find enough ways to defend him. A reporter from Munich stood up and shouted. In the past few days, there have been voices disparaging Luo Ye in Munich. On the one hand, this is because Luo Ye's goal rate has indeed declined. On the other hand, it is also due to Hoeneß' operation. The two sides still have huge differences in contract negotiations. That's why there are all kinds of noises. Van Gaal seemed very polite. I am very happy to see Luo Ye making progress. He is a very hardworking young man. He once encountered a strange thing where his body suddenly grew 15 centimeters in 6 months, which made it difficult for him to adapt. I am very happy for him. I can find my own path again. Returning to Bayern? Yes, we have that plan, but it won't be this season. Van Gaal said firmly. Can you not be sure? The loan contract does not have an early recall clause. If you want to recall early, Leverkusen can only agree to it. Under the current situation, it would be strange for Leverkusen to agree to Luo Ye returning to Bayern. Lao Fan's face was calm. Not to mention how much regret I have in my heart. Leverkusen arrived in Munich 1 day in advance and settled in the hotel. As a result, early the next morning, when the players were going to the Allianz Arena to step on the field, they encountered a heavy rainstorm. The Allianz Arena is a modern stadium with a sealable roof. Drainage performance is nothing to say. So there is no need to worry that the game cannot be played due to bad weather, but when Leverkusen went to the field, the roof of the stadium was open, so Hanks could only frown and watch the players play under the heavy rain. Field training. Such a trip to the field naturally doesn't make much sense, so the team can only end it early and conduct some physical recovery training in the hotel gym. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the team boarded the bus in front of the hotel and went straight to the Allianz Arena. It was still raining heavily outside the car window. It has been raining intermittently all day long. However, there are still many fans on both sides of the road, walking or riding bicycles to the Allianz Stadium. Most of them wore Bayern Munich's red home jersey. I saw the Leverkusen bus coming. They sang and made noises, and many people pointed their middle fingers at the Leverkusen bus. Although Bayern and Leverkusen are not mortal enemies. But as long as they are facing each other on the court, that's the opponent. Treat your opponent Fans are never polite. When the bus arrived at the parking lot of the stadium, a large number of reporters have gathered beside the cordon on both sides, from the goal to the entrance to the stadium locker room. But when Leverkusen's coach and players got off the bus, the group of reporters seemed like hyenas seeing their prey. They all came up. Luo Ye became the focus of reporters. When he got out of the car, the camera flashes flashed, and as he entered the stadium, countless recording devices were held up in front of him. Reporters asked various questions. Luo Ye, your goal rate has dropped sharply. Have you been thoroughly studied? You have already gone one game without scoring and your scoring streak has come to an abrupt end. Will this cause you trouble? Luo Ye, can you still score goals? Luo Ye, have you encountered a bottleneck? Luo Ye grinned, bottleneck? What is a bottleneck? Seeing Luo Ye's arrogant look, some media reporters from Munich were very unhappy. Someone shouted loudly. Stop pretending, you've been seen through. You're just a center who only knows how to header. You can't score against Bayern Munich. You have no secrets anymore. As long as you prevent your header, there's nothing you can do. Your rookie wall has arrived early. Luo. Because you are a center with boring characteristics. The Munich man shouted loudly at Luo Ye. Although Luo Ye's contract is still at Bayern. But as an opponent, they don't mind giving Luo Ye a good blow to his confidence before the game. Luo Ye looked at the Munich reporters who were yelling, curled his lips, and walked into the stadium. Episode 32. Targeted defense against Luo Ye. Rookie walls are a thing found in many sports. A rookie who emerged out of nowhere was studied and targeted after his outstanding performance, and then his performance became unstable, and many people even lost sight of everyone. This is all normal. For a rookie, the biggest advantage often lies in the opponent's lack of understanding. And once you understand it, coaches in this world can always find various ways to deal with it. Luo Ye's rookie wall seems to have come a little early, who makes his characteristics so distinctive. Luo Ye ignored the Munich reporters who challenged him. Because he doesn't have that time. After entering the locker room, assistant coach Herman urged everyone to put on their equipment and go out to warm up. After warming up, the starting players put on their jerseys, put on their long shoes and socks, and inserted their shin guards. Guys, the field is relatively soft today, so all are wearing long spikes. Assistant coach Herman reminded. Right now. Head coach Hanks also walked in. He did not speak, but waited until all the players had changed their equipment, and then he clapped his hands to attract the attention of all the players, before he spoke. Guys, I don't need to say too much about tactics. Everyone knows what we focused on practicing this week. I'll say it again, press. Fierce frontcourt press. Do you understand? I understand. The players shouted back. It is different from the current discussion about Bayern's recovery. Hanks could see the weaknesses of Louis van Gaal's Bayern Munich at a glance. This is a typical team that is strong in attack and weak in defense. Van Gaal placed a strong emphasis on organizing the attack through short passes from the back, using the midfielders Kroos and Bastian Schweinsteiger as dealers. But there is no corresponding support and protection in the midfield. What's even worse is, their center-back was the slow Van Buyten paired with the young and reckless Badstuber. Their goalkeeper is the aging Butte, whose reflexes have declined a lot. In this case, Hank's tactic for this game is just one, grab. Fierce pressing in the front court. Win the ball and shoot when you have the chance. Or cross. Do you understand? Hank said. Everyone couldn't help but look at Luo Ye, the starting center for this game. In order to strengthen the pressing in the front court, even Kiesling did not start. Instead, he started offensive midfielder, Sam. Sam has stronger running and coverage, and the pressing effect is better than Kiesling. And this way. This means that Leverkusen only has Luo Ye as the forward center, and he assumes the team's goal-scoring responsibility. Everyone, just pass the ball to me. No matter if it's over your head or under your feet. Luo Ye patted his chest to express his confidence to everyone. Hey, Luo. Long time no see. In the player tunnel, while the players from both sides were lining up, Thomas Müller, Luo Ye's friend at Bayern, came to chat with Luo Ye. Hey Thomas, congratulations on being the main player this season. Thomas Müller smiled. He was very proud of himself in these 3 rounds of the league. In 3 games, he scored 3 goals and was the absolute contributor to the team's 3 consecutive victories. Now in this crucial battle, he still starts the game, and he has obviously gained the trust of Bayern Munich's coaching staff. Thank you, but I won't give in to this game. Thomas Müller blinked at Luo Ye. They all know that Luo Ye is negotiating with the club about renewing his contract. This game is likely to be the key. If Luo Ye performs well in the game, he will be able to get the club to pay a bigger price for him. The more painful it is, the more money will be paid. Thomas, we don't want your trouble, Luo Ye said with a grin. At this moment, the captains of both teams shouted to the teammates behind them. About to appear. This is the second time Luo Ye has come to the Allianz Arena to play. The last time he represented Bayern was against Bayer Leverkusen. This time, he played for Bayer Leverkusen against Bayern. The identity has been transformed, and the situation has also completely changed. Although there are many negative voices in the media. But Bayern fans are not stupid. They certainly know that any forward has ups and downs, and Luo Ye has only failed to score in one game. Not even a goal drought. The fans at the Allianz Arena have somewhat complicated feelings about Luo Ye. On the one hand, they know that Luo Ye is the biggest threat to their opponents in this game. On the other hand, they also have some feelings for their own players who have performed well on loan. This can be seen when Luo Ye comes on the field. When the on-site DJ plays the player lists of both sides, the other Leverkusen players are greeted with extremely sharp boos. And here we are at Luo Ye. It seemed a bit chaotic, and the decibels were much lower, and some fans even cheered. And more fans simply didn't make any sound and sat quietly in their seats. Luo Ye continued to start. He scored in 5 consecutive games in the Bundesliga. However, this record of consecutive goals came to an abrupt end in the last game. Many media in Hungary country have I think Luo Ye has encountered a bottleneck and his characteristics are too single. Duan Xian, the commentator of Longhua National TV, sounded quite worried. Dragon Kingdom fans also split into several factions. Fart, 2 goals in 3 games, that's just 1 game without a goal. He is still the top scorer. You can't say that, you have to look at the trend. The trend is that Luo Ye's goal rate has dropped. Everyone knows that he can only rely on headers, and now everyone knows how to defend against Luo Ye. Dragon Nation fans are right. Bayern's defensive approach in this game was very typical. After the game started, Bayern took the lead in attacking, but they were quickly blocked by Leverkusen's frontcourt press. The football was quickly passed to the wing, and Leverkusen was about to make a pass. Bayern did not panic. Someone quickly rushed to the wing to interfere with the cross. At the same time, in the middle, Van Basten, a tall center-back with a height of 198 centimeters, closely guarded Luo Ye. At the same time, Badstuber assisted Van Basten. Teng defended and flanked Luo Ye. This set is the basic routine used by opponents to defend Luo Ye in recent games: cut off crosses from the side, and arrange 2 central defenders, one high and one high, to flank anyway. This guy can only header the ball, limiting the quality of crosses and interfering with them. His header will do the trick. Before this, Luo Ye really had no other choice. Because he doesn't pose much of a threat except for headers, he needs to use his body almost desperately to fight his opponents in every game. But things are different now. Episode 33. Cannon fired. Boom. Hoeneß looked a little ugly. Because Bayern Munich, who was sitting at home, was kicked by Leverkusen after the opening game. Leverkusen's formation in this game is closer to 451. Luo Ye and the 4 midfielders pressed forward, creating a 5-for-5 situation. The weaknesses of veterans such as Van Basten and Butte, who were not responsive enough, were quickly exposed. 3 consecutive victories have concealed many problems for Bayern, including the difficulty of passing the ball out of the backcourt. The midfield partnership of Kroos and Bastian Schweinsteiger looks both technical and defensively tough. But when they were holding the ball in the backcourt, there was a lack of support around them. At least, Kroos didn't dare to pass it back to Van Basten or Butte easily. As a result, the Bayern midfielder has very few passing options when establishing an attack in the backcourt. He can only pass the ball to Ram on the wing or to the Croatian right-back Planic on the other side. Facing Leverkusen's pressing, it was difficult for Bayern Munich to complete a smooth ball. The terrible thing is, the stubborn Van Gaal also strongly demanded that the team must establish offense through short passes and prohibit direct long passes from the backcourt. This makes Leverkusen's frontcourt pressing tactics more effective. The only thing worth celebrating is Van Gaal at least knew how to defend Luo Ye's header. Hoeneß shook his head. He had been watching it for 7 or 8 minutes. Luo Ye's several headers in the frontcourt had no effect. If Luo Ye really only knows how to header, considering the blessings he brings from the Dragon Country market, giving him an annual salary of 4 million is already the limit that Bayern can offer. No more. Hoeneß thinks it's not worth it. Van Gaal also frowned. Bayern was beaten at their home court, which is indeed unreasonable. But there is no way. Luo Ye is indeed a great threat in the air. He can suppress defenders, and Leverkusen's frontcourt press is also very successful. Maybe I should be lucky. Luo Ye really doesn't seem to know anything else, he really only knows headers. This guy really knows his stuff. Luo Ye also discovered it. If he just relied on headers, it would be really difficult for him to score. So he decided to try the long shot. 18th minute of the game. After Augusto on the wing got the ball, fullback Swab put it on and looked like he was going to complete a 2-on-1 with Augusto, and then made a cross to find Luo Ye. At this time, Luo Ye will definitely rush into the penalty area and fight to the death with the defender who blocks him. But this time, both Van Basten and Badstuber were ready for a decisive battle with Luo Ye in the air. They suddenly discovered it. Eh? Where are people? What about that big man from the Dragon Kingdom who was 192 centimeters tall just now? How come it was the little Sam who was 172 centimeters tall who rushed into the penalty area? With Sam's small body, can he take advantage of Van Basten and Badstuber? Isn't this a joke? Everyone felt a little surprised. Even Sky Sports commentator Schultz's tone was very surprising. Augusto's cross, in front of the goal? Huh? Ronaldo is outside the penalty area? Luo Ye stood just outside the penalty area. Cross felt a little ridiculous. He actually faced off against Luo Ye. Although he was surprised, Luo Ye was indeed raising his hand for the ball. He should be able to split sides, right? Cross didn't feel that Luo Ye was much of a threat outside the penalty area, and he began to pay more attention to other people around Luo Ye. Augusto passed a half-high ball, and the football flew very fast and came to Luo Ye in an instant. Luo Ye quickly pressed forward and stopped the ball with his chest. This disappointed many people who thought Luo Ye would choose to volley directly. They thought he was going to make a world wave, but unexpectedly he chose to stop the ball. Luo Ye, stop the ball? Duan Xian was very regretful. If you stop the ball, you will lose the chance to shoot. Luo Ye did not hit the volley directly, which indeed allowed him to be entangled by Kroos. Facing cross-close defense, some people may choose to shoot hastily, while others may pass the ball. But Luo Ye had already thought about what to do before stopping the ball. He trained countless times on the virtual training ground. It's not just shooting practice without confrontation. It is difficult to improve long-range shooting technology to a certain height in a static and non-confrontational environment. Any technology can only be effective if it is exerted under fierce confrontation. So in the later stages of his long-range shooting practice at the virtual training ground, he was basically doing it with defense. Therefore, Luo Ye already has enough experience in the current situation. Facing Kroos who rushed forward, Luo Ye didn't pay attention to the falling football that passed by his chest. Instead, he stepped forward to block Kroos behind him, and then suddenly stuck his butt out. Kroos's small body could not withstand Luo Ye's strength, but he was directly bounced away by Luo Ye's iron butt. Everyone only saw Kroos rushing forward, then being bounced away, and then Luo Ye swung his right foot. Can he shoot from distance? Seeing this scene, this question almost came to everyone's mind. In the stands of the Allianz Arena, all the fans stared at the scene happening at the front of Bayern Munich's penalty area. About 2 meters from the top of the penalty area, directly opposite the goal. Luo Ye exerted all his strength, the muscles of his body were completely tense, and his right leg was like a whip, violently abstracting the football. But when his foot touches the football, the high-speed camera captured the sudden huge deformation of the football. At this moment, the football seemed to be a ball of elastic cheese, and the instep of Luo Ye's right foot was completely wrapped in this ball of cheese. The next second, boom! The loud sound made Van Basten, who felt something wrong and wanted to rush to block the shot, couldn't help but narrow his eyes. He even saw in a trance that what fired the football seemed to be a huge front-loaded cannon. Along with the football whizzing past his head, there were also kicked up grass clippings and silt after the heavy rain. The soil under the turf of the stadium that had absorbed moisture seemed very sticky. Butte obviously underestimated the power of Luo Ye's shot. When he saw the football flying, it was already too late to save it. He almost instinctively rushed to the right. Football roared. Knocked his palm away. Even though he pounced on the ball was so powerful that Butte couldn't lock his wrist at all. The football knowledge made a slight change of direction and hit the net behind him. Allianz Arena. Suddenly. Silence. Episode 34. If you score a goal, your salary will be increased by 1 million. He actually wants to take a long shot? He's best at heading the ball, so what's the use of a long shot? I heard that there is a saying in the Dragon Kingdom that is quite appropriate, it's just a matter of time. Ha 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 ha. In the press box, reporters from Munich laughed when they saw Luo Ye actually pulling out to catch the ball. This made the reporters from Leverkusen and Dragon Kingdom look a little ugly. But in the next second, their faces hardened. Even the reporters from Bayer Leverkusen and Dragon Country forgot to cheer. Someone turned their head stiffly and stared at the football in the goal with a look of disbelief. The ball went in? The ball went in. Sky Sports TV commentator Schultz was stunned for a moment before reacting. In his chance, the entire Allianz Arena immediately reflected. There were boos. Luo Ye ran all the way to the media box, pulled up his trouser legs, and pointed at the muscles of his thighs. Didn't you say I was restricted? Didn't you say that I encountered a bottleneck? What now? Feeling good or not? The other Leverkusen players also rushed forward. Well done. Well done. Luo. So damn beautiful. Oh. How dare they let you take a long shot? The teammates patted Luo Ye's head, shoulders, and back and celebrated. When Luo Ye hit the ball into Bayern Munich's goal at the top of the penalty area, about 25 meters away from the goal, Hanks immediately jumped up with his fists clenched. What is a secret weapon? This is what he calls a secret weapon. But when Luo Ye suddenly showed his stable long-range shooting ability in the training ground, Hanks was frightened. This guy. What was given was not a surprise, but a shock. And now? The one who was frightened was Bayern Munich. Hoeneß was shocked. What did he see? He saw Luo Ye hit a heavy shot from outside the penalty area and blasted the ball into the goal. Is this a trick? Hoeneß had a gut feeling in his heart. This is not a lie. This guy did it on purpose. Could it be that he had long-range shooting ability before? Just keep it and don't use it, just wait and give it to Bayern secretly? Isn't this too insidious? But what Hoeneß is thinking about now is not the issue of whether Luo Ye is insidious or not. If he has this long-range shooting ability, does that mean he is no longer a player with a single characteristic, but the kind of big center who is a great threat to the goal, whether in or outside the penalty area? Hoeneß's first reaction was, Mendes is going to raise his price. 4 million? Fortunately, I didn't agree. Mendes couldn't help but muttered as he watched Luo Ye's goal being replayed on the TV screen in the box at the Allianz Stadium. He has been in Han's country during this time. This shows that he attaches great importance to Luo Ye's contract renewal. I said, why does this kid have to wait until after the game against Bayern to talk about salary? So that's it. Mendes figured. Just relying on this ball may not be enough to make Hoeneß compromise. Boy. Enter another one. If you get one more, your salary will be increased by 1 million. Mendes smiled. Van Gaal is numb. He was confused. Luo Ye's shot completely disrupted all his tactical arrangements. Originally, on the defensive end, I just needed to guard against Luo Ye's high ball. Now Luo Ye pulled outside the penalty area and hit a long shot, but he scored. Next, how do you defend yourself? What's the point? In the penalty area or outside the penalty area? You can't deploy heavy defense inside and outside the penalty area, right? What to do now? His assistant Jorg also frowned. The opponent's high press was very effective, and now Luo suddenly showed off his long-range shooting ability. Damn it, when did he take a long-range shot? It can't be, are you blind? Van Gaal shook his head. He actually hoped that this was a misunderstanding. But he didn't dare to gamble. In fact, the two coaches knew whether it was Mang or not. Whether he can shoot from a long distance can be seen from his shooting posture. Luo Ye just did a standard action of shooting the ball with the momentum of his instep. Completed to a very standard. And there was an intentional confrontation before that. This shows that he did not do this on a whim. But it was planned long ago. Now Bayern Munich is 1 goal behind. Next, if Luo Ye kicks him in again. If you are 2 goals behind, then this goal will be difficult. Let Bastian Schweinsteiger come back to guard against his long shot. Van Gaal said. In this case, our offensive organization in the midfield. Van Gaal was a little annoyed when he heard this. Many of his tactical ideas cannot be implemented at Bayern Munich. He hopes Bayern can use the ground more and complete the offense through short passes. But most of Bayern's players still have the mindset of the older generation of German football. In other words, his way of thinking as a coach did not fit with the players in many cases. This was also the most important reason why Van Gaal was dismissed from Bayern Munich. It's not that he can't. It just doesn't fit. Moreover, Van Gaal is very stubborn and not good at flexibility. Sometimes he is a bit loudmouthed, and the relationship in the locker room is a bit tense. Later, even his fellow heel and fellow Luo Han had a somewhat tense relationship with him. Now we don't care about attacking. Guard first and then talk. Van Gaal pulled the tie on his collar irritably and said. His choice was correct from a tactical perspective. Because it really helped Bayern stabilize its defense. At the Allianz Arena, the expressions of the Bayern fans who came to the scene were ugly throughout the first half. Not only did their team fall behind in the first half, they were also completely passive on the field. Luo Ye is extremely threatening, both inside and outside the penalty area. Under his threat, Bayern Munich could only passively shrink its defense. If there are more people on defense, there will be fewer people on offense. With a small number of attackers, there won't be many opportunities to create attacks. In the end, he could only become more passive as he fought more and more, huddled in the penalty area, and was beaten passively. This is a process of ebb and flow. The only good thing was that they didn't concede any more goals before the end of the first half. As the referee blew the whistle to end the first half, chants against Van Gaal even began to appear on the scene. We don't need this Holland guy. Bayern Munich fans chanted. Van Gaal breathed a sigh of relief. Intermission. He has too much to do. Bayern Munich's players walked off the pitch in disgrace. Their performance in the first half was simply not worthy of the name of the so-called Bundesliga hegemon. The Leverkusen players were a little regretful. They dominated the first half. But unfortunately, only one goal was scored. Episode 35. Higher. A little higher. The first half of the game is over. Bayern Munich is completely passive at their home court. They are at a disadvantage in terms of ball possession rate, number of shots, number of hits, and number of passes, including the score. Leverkusen's attack around Luo Ye forced Bayern Munich to gather more defensive players, causing them to be completely unable to exert their advantages on the offensive end. The commentators summarized the first half of the game. In the home team's locker room, the atmosphere was solemn. All Bayern players looked solemn. When Van Gaal came in, he felt as if he was under the ice cap of the Arctic Ocean, and his whole body felt cold. He knows. Now the players are waiting for the head coach's decision. The passivity in the first half must be changed. We need to attack. Van Gaal said. This is nonsense. The key is how to attack. Al Young. Van Gaal looked at Robin. Robin has just returned from injury. To be on the safe side, Van Gaal did not let him start, but now, Robin must start. Robin raised his head and looked at Van Gaal. He was actually disgusted with Van Gaal's complicated tactical design. However, out of compassion for his compatriots, he hasn't taken out his electric baton yet. Mario, you will be replaced in the second half. Tomas, you move to the center and play as center, but you have to drop deeper and participate more in the organization of the midfield. Van Gaal ignored Gomez, who looked a little gloomy, and quickly made arrangements. Anatoly, you come on in the second half and replace Sheridan. The next victim of Van Gaal's tactical adjustments was Swiss Messi Shaqiri. What he will replace is Ukrainian midfielder Anatoly Tymashchuk. On the tactical board, Van Gaal changed Bayern's initial formation to 42-31. Tymashchuk and Piggy Schweinsteiger play as double midfielders, Kroos plays as front midfielder, with Ribery and Robben on both sides, and Thomas Muller in the middle. We have to play with speed on the wing. Van Gaal emphasized. Robben. 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 Arjen, Robben. Not long after the second half started. After some adjustments, Bayern Munich took the lead. Robben on the right, Ribery on the left. Such a wing-forward combination is one of the strongest in the world. After Bayern Munich made a desperate attack, giving up the cumbersome backcourt play in the first half, and also strengthened a defensive midfielder to limit Luo Ye's long-range shot threat at the front of the penalty area. Bayern Munich's offensive picked up quickly. After all, they have the strongest lineup in the entire Bundesliga. Robben completed a classic shot from the wing. A classic cut-in from the wing and shot with his left foot, breaking through Benaglio's goal. When Robben celebrated his goal, the Bayern Munich fans in the stands also became excited. This has changed a long time ago. The Ribery combination. Invincible in the world. I don't understand why Van Gaal has to do everything. For a while, fans and reporters in Munich seemed to see a glimmer of light. Leverkusen's players were a little helpless. The second half has just begun. He was given a slap in the face. But they soon cheered up. Start looking for offensive opportunities again. Now Leverkusen's players are very dependent on the tower in front. When they need to attack, their subconscious reaction is, let's pass the ball over Luo's head. So, after conceding the ball, Luo Ye instead received greater support. His performance also became more active, although he has long-range shooting ability. But this does not mean that he has to give up the header advantage brought by his impact. From a certain perspective, his greatest threat to the goal, or a high ball. Barnetta forced a cross. Ram blocked the ball from the sideline. The turf is a bit soft. This is the aftermath of heavy rain. This caused Barnetta to lose his footing and slip on the turf when passing the ball. Barnetta patted the turf with some annoyance. But in fact, even if he stands still, he will sometimes be blocked by Ram. Bayern Munich's two fullbacks pay great attention to defending Leverkusen's crosses. They will pounce on them and sometimes block the crosses directly. To pass around the fullback, pass higher. In this way, the football will fly in the air longer, giving the opponent's defender enough time to react. If you want to pass a high-quality cross, the ball speed must be fast and the height cannot be too high. But it is easy to be blocked by fullbacks. A higher pass can bypass the fullbacks, but it makes it difficult for the center to compete for the top. This is a contradiction. However, Luo Ye called several frontcourt teammates over after a dead ball. Pass higher. Pass the ball into the penalty area as far as possible, he said. But this will make it more difficult for you to compete for the top spot. It doesn't matter, just leave the rest to me, Luo Ye said loudly. During this period, he kept trying to jump for the top, and even pulled out to hit 3 long-range shots. The threat to the goal is getting bigger and bigger. He knows very well that it is impossible to beat Bayern to death with a stick. Only with constant impact and constant attempts can it be possible to knock on Bayern's goal. And because Luo Ye had a long shot, it became more difficult for Bayern's defense players to defend. Prevent him from long-range shots, or prevent him from hitting the penalty area. This is really a headache. Soon, Leverkusen's offense once again burned the flames of war into Bayern Munich's backcourt. After Luo Ye dropped back to catch the ball, he used his physical advantage to run over Shaq and turned around. At this time, the threat of his long shot became apparent. In order to block Luo Ye's possible long-range shot, Bayern's defense could only shrink to the center, which exposed the space on the wing. Although Luo Ye's basic passing rating is only 73 points. But 73 points is still at the national level among Longwa players. Even if the Dragon Country international player is stretching his hips, he can still do basic side-splitting passes. So Luo Ye decisively completed a pass and passed the ball to the open wing. After receiving the ball, Barnetta took the ball to the baseline without hesitation, and then the old reporter Luo Ye said, "Hi. Be high." A cross passed directly over Ram's head. Ram jumped as much as he could, but he couldn't block the ball. But Ram wasn't too worried. Because this ball is too high. He landed, turned his head, and couldn't help but choked on his breath. He saw a figure. A figure leaping high. He jumps in the air. No defender can compare. He is so tall. He is above everyone else. Like an eagle pounces on its prey. Boom. Shake your head. Ram's heart tightened. Then, I couldn't help but close my eyes in pain. Ball. Lost it again. Episode 36. Fighting battle, extremely fast. Luo Ye catches the ball in the middle. Is he going to take another long shot? No, it goes to the foot of Barnetta on the wing, and Barnetta passes directly. Hi. Schultz, the commentator in the commentary box, did not feel that Barnetta's cross could pose a threat, and knew that his eyes had shifted to the center. Luo Ye. With the commentators chanting. Luo Ye sprinted and jumped, completely knocking away all obstacles in front of him. Veteran Van Buiten's huge body was actually bounced away by him. He stands high, shakes his head, and attacks the goal. Goalkeeper Butte was completely helpless. Let alone Bout, who is always buying this ball now, even Buffon or Yashin, who are at their peak standing in front of the goal, cannot save it. The distance is too close. Luo Ye. Luo Ye. Luo Ye. Here we go. Duan Xian was also shouting, 2 goals. 2 goals. The iconic header. It's still Luo Ye. It's still Luo Ye. Leverkusen was equalized, and when the situation encountered difficulties, it was Luo Ye who solved the problem. His goal made all Leverkusen fans breathe a sigh of relief. They took the lead again. 1-2. Leverkusen exceeded the score again. This game is really exciting. Luo Ye, the forward from Dragon Kingdom, once again helped Leverkusen score. Who can say that he has encountered a bottleneck? He scored twice against Bayern. How many strikers in the entire Bundesliga can do that? The commentators in the commentary box were exclaiming. The commentator of Munich TV opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Just like the Bayern Munich fans in the stands. Throughout the Allianz Arena, the home team fans didn't know what they should say. They watched helplessly as Luo Ye headed the ball into his own goal. This guy was supposed to destroy the city for Bayern. Why was such a powerful guy rented out? Many Bayern fans thought gloomily. And Leverkusen fans are pregnant. Leverkusen's start to the season was too good, and Bayern looked a bit stretched this season, which gave Leverkusen fans some hope, the hope of winning the championship. For any team in the Bundesliga, the prerequisite for winning the championship. It's all Bayern Munich's hip-stretching situation. He is a well-deserved overlord. When Bayern appears to be pulling its hips, only teams such as Dortmund, Schalke 04, Leverkusen, Wolfsburg and others have a chance. If Leverkusen beat Bayern Munich directly, it will undoubtedly greatly enhance Leverkusen's confidence. They chanted heartily at the Allianz Arena. At this moment, the stadium seemed to have become the territory of Leverkusen fans. Hoeneß, who was watching the game in the stadium box, shook his head slightly. A forward with strong physical impact, header, and long-range shooting is really difficult to defend. The long-range shooting ability suddenly displayed by Luo Ye is not just a simple superposition of abilities, it is as simple as 1 + 1. Instead, some very troublesome chemical reactions occurred. Hoeneß was also a professional player back then, so he knows his stuff. Luo Ye, who has long-range shooting ability, has improved his scoring ability by more than just one level. Just like this ball just now. After Luo Ye got the ball in the center of the front court, Bayern's players would definitely not have gathered in the center before that, but someone would have gone to the side to interfere with the opponent's cross. And now, because Luo Ye's long-range shot is too threatening, Bayern's defensive player's first choice is to shrink the center, block Luo Ye's shooting line, and open up the wings. Then Luo Ye was given the opportunity to split the sides and hit the center with a header to grab the point. With the ability to shoot long range, Luo Ye has completed an evolution. But 6 million is still too much. Hoeneß gritted his teeth. Hoeneß, who has been in the negotiation field for so many years, firmly believes in one truth: never compromise easily. Van Gaal simply didn't know what he should say. He saw it too. If you rely solely on defense, you won't be able to defend it. Luo Ye's beast-like impact is not something even Bayern Munich's defense can withstand. Want to get the game back? The only way. Just attack. Van Gaal called Captain Lahm to the sidelines. Attack. Attack in a big way. We will fight them if they dare to attack. So does Leverkusen dare to attack Bayern Munich? The answer is of course yes. When the Leverkusen player celebrated, Hanks is also planning to make his first substitution. He is going to make the first substitution card of the game. The replacement is forward Kiesling. This can be seen from this substitution adjustment. Hanks is not conservative either. Tell the players, don't dwell on this score, don't think that we are ahead, we need to attack and score goals. If we shrink back, we are not sure that we can prevent the opponent's offense. Hanks pulled Kiesling and emphasized. After all, Bayern Munich has world-class wingers like Frank Ribery and Robben on the front line. The game ends in more than half an hour. Hanks didn't dare to expect Leverkusen's defense to withstand the attacks of two world-class wingers, Frank Ribery and Robben, for more than 30 consecutive minutes. Kiesling nodded and quickly passed Hanks' adjustment to every player on the court. Luo Ye was very happy. As a forward, he naturally wants to hear the head coach emphasize offense. Because this means that he has more opportunities to score goals. Next game. With Kiesling on hand to contain him, Luo Ye got more opportunities to attack the goal. Of course. This is also related to Bayern's unconservative strategy. At the Allianz Arena, Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen engage in an offensive battle. The expressions of the fans on both sides changed as the format of the game changed. When Leverkusen attacked, Bayern fans were extremely nervous, especially when the football passed into Luo Ye's area. When Bayern attacks, it was the turn of the Leverkusen fans to be nervous. Robben, a beautiful dribble away. Direct cross. Cruz shot. Slightly wide. Leverkusen made a long pass, Luo Ye headed the ball over, Kiesling. It's a little higher. Here it comes. Bayern's attack is here again. In the commentary box, the commentators were simply a bit overwhelmed. Both sides come and go. The game scene seems to be equipped with a rocket engine and is racing at extremely high speeds. Episode 37. Killing. Killer. Killer. Both head coaches could no longer sit still. They came to the sidelines, looking very nervous. This time is really critical. The game has entered the most critical stage of about 70 minutes. If a goal is scored at this time, whether it's Bayern Munich's goal or Bayer Leverkusen's goal, will have a great impact on the situation. Over time, with no other thoughts on their mind, Bayern began to focus on offense, showing their strong offensive capabilities. At the Allianz Arena, Bayern Munich is a team that should never be underestimated. They kept attacking through the wings. Robben, Lahm, Ribery. These wing players once suppressed Leverkusen's wing. Leverkusen's offense also relies heavily on wing attacks. They have to pass the ball over Luo Ye's head through wing crosses. The two sides are declining and the other is growing. Bayern Munich, playing at home, began to gain an advantage after the 65th minute of the game. Leverkusen's defense was a bit messy and the formation was scattered. In this case, the 69th minute of the game. After Ribery made a successful breakthrough on the left wing, he made an inverted triangle pass. Thomas Müller raised his foot and pushed the ball into the goal amid the cheers of the audience. Thomas Müller. Amid the cheers of the audience, the commentator of Munich TV in the commentary box was extremely excited. 2-2. 2-2. 2-2. Bayern Munich equalized the score by 1. This is Bayern. This is our home court. Twice behind. Twice equalized. Bayern Munich shows their resilience. Bayern Munich scored. The goal scorer, Thomas Müller. The fans at the Allianz Arena were chanting collectively. The entire stadium was swept and shaken by the sound. After completing the goal, Müller rushed into the goal with his head covered, ran back with the football in his arms. Bayern Munich will not be satisfied with a draw with Leverkusen at their home court. They want to win. Luo Ye also wants to win. Attack. We need to attack. Luo Ye clapped his hands and said loudly, "We can lead twice. We can lead a third time." Afraid of their eggs? Luo Ye's roar made the Leverkusen players react. The game is not over yet. Barak was secretly ashamed. The moment Müller scored, he did feel a hint of despair. Away, the opponent is Bayern. Twice ahead, twice tied. In terms of momentum, our side has been severely frustrated, but our opponent has reached its peak at this moment. A dominant team like Bayern puts too much pressure on other Bundesliga teams. Almost at this moment, everyone believes it would be good if Leverkusen can hold on to a draw. As for victory? Are you kidding? That's Bayern Munich. But now Luo Ye stood up. What Bayern Munich? What an overlord. What I am fighting is the overlord. The game is not over yet. Let's keep attacking. Damn it. Since we can take the lead twice, we can finish it the third time. Barak roared too. Leverkusen's players, with the core players as shareholders, at least, the morale collapse has been contained. The two sides began a more intense battle. The pace is so fast. At least the neutral fans were hooked. The game time passes, minute by minute. At such a fast pace. Both sides go together. Time passed in a flash. Until the fourth official appeared on the sidelines of the court. The fans suddenly realized that this game had already reached injury time. 5 minutes of injury time. There are still 5 minutes left for both sides. The score is still a draw at 2-2. Maybe this score is more fair to both sides. Robben. Schultz's voice suddenly became louder in the commentary box. On the field. After Kroos got the ball, he sent a scalpel-like through ball. Robben ran horizontally and then went straight into the penalty area and made a classic anti-offside attack. All the fans held their breath and stared at Leverkusen's penalty area. Robben, 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 Robben. The commentator on Munich TV mused. With everyone watching, Robben burst into the penalty area and received the ball in the ribs of the penalty area. At this time, goalkeeper Benalio had already struck in front of him. Robben, who cuts inside and shoots cleanly, gets a lot of marks when dealing with one-on-one shots. He didn't shoot, but chose a change of pace and planned to cut the ball inside and shoot. However, as soon as he passed the ball, Leverkusen center-back Hypaya, who had been prepared for it, kicked the ball out of the penalty area. The dangerous situation in Leverkusen's penalty area was resolved. The entire Allianz Arena sighed. The commentators all felt sorry for Robben's handling of the single-handed ball this time. Robben, he missed the chance to win. A few months ago, in the World Cup final, Robben also missed this opportunity. The single-handed ball has simply become his inner demon. Just when the commentators put their heads in their hands and lamented that this great opportunity was wasted, the exclamation from the Allianz Arena made them focus on the field again. The football that was cleared by Haipia's big foot flew high into the air, and then fell towards the front court. Everyone's attention shifted to Bayern Munich's backcourt. At this time, Luo Ye is competing with Van Basten for position. Luo Ye and Van Basten are one-on-one. The commentators exclaimed. Luo Ye struggled to squeeze Van Basten backwards and seize the ball spot. Have to say, the 198 centimeters Van Basten does look like a tank, but even this tank on the football field was squeezed out by Luo Ye, who has a strength rating of 130. The football falls from the sky. Luo Ye stretched his feet and stopped the ball. His stopping technique was slightly flawed, and the football was stopped behind him on his right side. But this just gave Luo Ye the opportunity to get rid of Van Basten. Luo Ye quickly started forward. Although his speed was not absolutely fast, he was still fast enough to get rid of the bulky Van Basten. Luo Ye had O'Neal's strength but not O'Neal's weight. From a certain perspective, the strength matches his weight, making Luo Ye even light. Luo Ye feels like lightness. But to others, the charging Luo Ye looked like a tank charging at full speed. Luo Ye. Single sword. To the exclamations of the commentators. Fullback Lam is quickly approaching Luo Ye. The gap between the two is getting smaller and smaller. In terms of speed, Ram has the advantage. Luo Ye spotted Ram chasing after him at high speed before catching the ball. He knew that he could not throw away Ram with his speed. So, he looked toward the goal. He took a step forward with the ball, and then, adjust your pace. Luo Ye, shoot. To the narrator's exclamations. Luo Ye took a full approach and hit the football with the instep of his foot. Boom. A huge sound rose into the sky, turning into an afterimage of the football in the air. Goalkeeper Butte saw Luo Ye shoot directly in the middle of the attack. He suddenly threw himself in the direction of the football. His face lit up. Knocked down. Next moment, Butte's face stiffened. It seemed that what he knocked down was not a football, but a shot put. The football flying from the air broke away from his locked wrist with unstoppable momentum. Feeling the helplessness of his wrist muscles being reopened and the vague sting of being torn, but looked behind him, the football that he pounced on didn't even have any major changes in its path. It went straight and hit the goal. Allianz Arena. A piece of silence. About a second later, in the commentary box, Schultz's voice broke the silence. Knockout. Episode 38. Would any fool let go of such a striker? Definite kill. Definite kill. Oh. Earth-shattering long-range shot. Almost 30 meters away from the goal. This ball speed is really terrifying. This terrifying shooting power. He almost penetrated the net. In the commentary box, the commentators held their heads in their hands. Bayern Munich fans were stunned at the Allianz Arena. In the last second, they were all regretting Robben's single-minded failure. Next moment, all of their expressions stiffened. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of fans, Luo Ye suddenly made such a world wave. Defeat. Hat trick. Defeat. Hat trick. What else can you say? What else can you say? At this moment, Luo Ye is like the god of war. Such ball speed. It's terrifying. Butte even touched the ball, but he failed to save it. The power of this shot was so explosive. Duan Xian was shouting. He almost jumped up from his chair in the studio, wearing a suit and beach shorts. But Duan Xian couldn't care about this at this moment. Fortunately, his scene in the studio was not immediately known to fans. At this moment, I don't know how many Dragon Country fans were staring at this scene on the TV screen in disbelief. A hat trick, a killer performance. The opponent is Bayern Munich. Who can imagine? Who dares to imagine? This was actually done by a Dragon Country player. F***K. 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 Awesome. Are you really not dreaming? Who else? Who else? Bottleneck? I looked at the media and they were talking about bottlenecks. How can they get into Bayern's 3 teams if they encounter a bottleneck? On the Dragon Kingdom network, fans have gotten carried away with their comments. Next scarf hot search, almost in a short time, the news about Luo Ye's hat trick took over the entire Dragon Kingdom network. On the box at the stadium, Mendes was stunned. In fact, he doesn't care too much whether Leverkusen can beat Bayern. He only cares about whether Luo Ye can score goals. After one step, he felt successful. With 2 goals scored, Mendes thought he would have enough capital to continue to struggle with the difficult Honus. Now. Hat trick. Killer. Mendes knows. Luo Ye is about to become famous, even though Luo Ye was already somewhat famous before. But it's definitely not as good as after this game. Not everyone can score a hat trick against a super giant like Bayern. This kid will become the headlines of all sports media in Europe tomorrow. Mendes felt the silence of the Allianz Arena, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Shocked? Shocking? Such an awesome forward is now on loan to Bayer Leverkusen from Bayern. If you don't immediately give him a contract worthy of his worth, he's going to fly away. By then, how embarrassing will Bayern be when a world-class star who made his debut at Bayern Munich but has never played in an official game for Bayern? Mendes knows. Luo Ye is right. 4 million? The quote of 4 million is only worthy of being thrown into the trash can. For such an awesome forward, his annual salary of 6 million is too low. If it weren't for Luo Ye and his own reputation, Mendes would have even wanted to overturn the 6 million annual salary price he had been asking for. Your own players. In front of your own fans. On your home court. Scored 3 goals. Defeat Bayern. What more can be said? His greatness was performed under the eyes of Bayern Munich senior management, coaches, players, and fans. Mendes sat down proudly. Mendes was proud. Honus was horrified. Hat trick. To be honest, he really didn't expect that Luo Ye, who seemed to be at a low point in the previous 3 games, would suddenly break out in this game. And it's a hat trick as soon as it breaks out, and it also comes with a killer kill. The goal was scored in the 91st minute of the game. Absolutely a killer. Honus did not dare to expect Bayern Munich to get the score back in the remaining 3 minutes or so. Van Gaal froze on the sidelines. The camera just gave him a close-up. The Dutch coach's face was a little stiff. He looked at the court blankly, not knowing what he was thinking. Van Gaal must regret letting Luo Ye go, right? Schultz sighed when he saw the scene. If Bayern loses this game, they will only get 11 points from 7 league rounds with 3 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses, a full 7 points behind Bayer Leverkusen, who has 19 points from 6 wins and 1 draw. Although the 7-point gap is not particularly big, but, with Bayern's state this season, can they catch up? Schultz's words made many Bayern Munich fans sigh in front of the TV. The current Van Gaal and Bayern seem a bit similar to Van Gaal and Barcelona back then. At that time, Barcelona's lineup looked very good, but it was riddled with problems. Van Gaal sadly dismissed. Could it be that? Will Bayern Munich change coaches again this season? Can a coaching change save Bayern Munich this season? These questions linger in the minds of all Bayern Munich fans. Hanks was also shocked for a long time on the sidelines. He himself couldn't believe that Luo Ye could perform like this in such a heavyweight competition. This boy is born to be a grand occasion man, he said to his assistant Hermann. On the court, the Leverkusen players rushed forward in disbelief. Oh God! This is a sure kill. Hat trick! Hat trick! Awesome! Luo Ye was pinned down and ravaged by the excited Leverkusen players. Bayern's players looked ugly. Kroos turned around with a stiff expression, looked at Thomas Müller and asked, "This guy will be ours next season, right?" When Thomas Müller heard this, he nodded stiffly, of course. No fool would let such a forward go. Right now. A burst of sparse applause sounded from a corner of the stands. When Müller and Kroos turned to look at the stands. Applause. It has become loud. Episode 39. Applause from the stands. Intensive applause came from the stands and soon became the main theme of the entire stadium. All fans, both the visiting team fans and the home team fans, stood up and applauded. On the court, both Leverkusen and Bayern Munich players stared blankly at the stands. The camera focuses on Luo Ye, who has just escaped the clutches of Bayer Leverkusen's players. He looked a little embarrassed. The white Leverkusen away jersey on his body has turned into black and gray. The head was also covered with grass clippings and some dirt. Luo Ye looked towards the stands. To be honest, he couldn't react at this moment. But he quickly became inspired. Applause from rival fans. This treatment. The treatment is the same as Ronaldinho, and others. Luo Ye had a smile on his face, raised his hands, and applauded around the stands to thank the fans for their support. Bayern Munich fans are applauding Luo Ye. This is a very rare scene. The Allianz Arena is applauding an opponent's player. But having said that, Luo Ye is also a Bayern player now. He is only loaned to Leverkusen by Bayern. Luo Ye hasn't returned to Bayern yet, but he may have already been recognized by Bayern fans. The commentators in the commentary box were all surprised. Hoeneß, who was in the stands, stood up and applauded with a smile on his face. He knew that the camera would definitely come to him at this time. Really? A close-up of Hoeneß appeared on the TV screen. Hoeneß looks very presentable in the picture. He was smiling, with the corners of his mouth raised, and he clapped his hands rhythmically. But who would have thought that Hoeneß' heart is bleeding now? You pig teammates. Do you know? You applaud like this. At least €500,000 a year is gone. Hoeneß feels heartbroken when he thinks that Bayern may have to pay him an extra 1 or 2 million in annual salary. Careful calculation is part of Bayern's blood. As a super-rich club, Bayern's revenue is on the same level as big clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United. But when it comes to spending money, I wish I could split €1 into $2. From Luo Ye's goal to Leverkusen's celebration. More than a minute passed. There is only more than a minute of game time left for Bayern. Although the referee gave almost 1 minute more stoppage time at his discretion. But in the end it was still difficult for Bayern to score in 2 or 3 minutes. But when the referee blew the whistle to end the game, the camera lens immediately locked onto Ye Luo. Ye Luo's close-up appeared in the eyes of all fans who were not watching live. The game is over. The game is over. With Luo Ye's hat-trick and winning goal, Leverkusen defeated Bayern Munich 3-2 in the away game and won this key battle. With this victory, Leverkusen started the game with an unbeaten record in 7 games, with 6 wins, 1 draw and 19 points, taking them to the top of the league standings. Behind them, Dortmund had 5 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss and ranked second with 16 points. Luo Ye scored 12 league goals in 7 games. Continue to top the league scorer list. Before this round of games, everyone was talking about Luo Ye's bottleneck and Luo Ye's rookie wall, but this game after that, I'm afraid there will no longer be such a voice. A hat-trick shattered all doubts. Bayern Munich must keep this big man from the Dragon Kingdom. Among all the new generation players, there are too few big centers like Luo Ye, especially since he is so good at scoring goals. The commentators focused all their attention on Luo Ye. He also deserves this kind of focus. Not just the narrator. At the end of the game, I don't know how many scouts who scouted Luo Ye in the stands sent back scouting reports to their respective clubs. The core is just 2 words, by him. 18 years old. 12 goals in 7 rounds in the Bundesliga. This data alone is enough to make many teams excited. Combined with Luo Ye's strong strength advantage and demonstrated ability to score goals with headers and long shots. Such a big center would be coveted by any wealthy club. Anytime. Centers who can resist and rush are scarce. If you can resist and rush, you can also score goals. Once this kind of center appears, he will be a hot commodity that all major giants will compete for. At the end of this game, football media all over the country, all over Europe, and even the world are reporting crazily on Luo Ye's performance. Luo Ye's hat-trick plus a winning goal. He conquered the Allianz Arena. 12 goals in 7 league rounds, Luo Ye caused a storm in the Bundesliga. The Chinese media still marveled at Luo Ye's performance. And like in England, in Salt Duck Country. That's a lot more YY. The English media reports almost every minute about Luo Ye, a powerful offer from the Premier League. The storytelling ability of English editors is indeed world-class. And in the Salt Duck Country, the Madrid media are busy creating evidence that Luo Ye likes Real Madrid and is the son of the emperor. The Catalan media firmly believes that Luo Ye dreams of joining Barcelona. I don't know where they found this information. As for Longua media, what they like to repost most is similar news. Foreign exposure to Luo Ye's news and Luo Ye's transfer news. Today, Manchester United offered 30 million, and the day after tomorrow Real Madrid offered 3,500 or something like that. These messages are true or false. In fact, most of them are false. But I can't stand Luo Ye's huge traffic. Dragon Kingdom fans like to see similar news. Sometimes Luo Media itself even participates in editing the news. Now to the news. Highlight 1. Luo Ye received a call from Mendes the next day. What? 5 million? Luo Ye was very excited. Bayern has made huge concessions. But Mendes asked him to calm down. Just because of your hat trick at the Allianz Arena, we still insist on 6 million. 6 million? Will Bayern give it? Yes. Mendes smiled slightly. There will be other teams that help us put pressure on Bayern. Mendes laughed. What should I do? Luo Ye asked. Of course, you need to score goals. Keep scoring goals. This happens to be what I'm good at. Luo Ye grinned. Episode 40. The value of a big center. Luo Ye stopped the ball with his chest. Oh. Cruz couldn't see enough in front of him, he was directly bounced away. Luo Ye, long shot. Goal. Barnetta crosses, in the middle. It's still Luo Ye. Beautiful. The ball goes in. The ball goes in again. Down by 10 was squeezed away by Luo Ye. This is the attack method of a center. Stop the ball and turn around. Single shot. Lam is chasing back. Luo Ye shoots directly. Oh. Incredible. Unbelievable. On the TV screen. Highlights of Luo Ye's game against Bayern Munich are being played. But the attention of the 3 people in the room was no longer on the TV screen. They have watched these 3 goals many times. If someone is in the room, it is guaranteed that most Hans people will recognize the 3 people in front of them. They are the current top 3 of Bayern Munich chairman Rummenigge, Bayern Munich general manager Hoeneß, and Bayern Munich club supervisory committee chairman Beckenbauer. Gentlemen, we have to make a decision. I have received too many protests from fans in the past 2 days. They urgently hope that we will give Luo Ye a new contract. If such a forward leaves the team, we will definitely be prepared. Huge loss. Beckenbauer said. I think you all don't want a striker who can score 3 goals against Bayern Munich to lead Bayern Munich. This is really awkward to say. But that's the reality. The guy who scored 3 goals for Bayern and defeated Bayern was Bayern's own player. But his agent asked for too much. Hoeneß said with a frown. Actually, the difference is not too big, right? It's just a gap of 2 million. Beckenbauer said. This is not a question of 2 million. If the 18-year-old Luo Ye is given an annual salary of 6 million, he will not be the only one asking for a salary increase. This will cause a chain reaction. Hoeneß said. But can anyone score goals like Luo Ye? 12 goals in 7 rounds. Can Mario match the scoring efficiency? Beckenbauer shook his head and said, honestly, Mario Gomez is too injured. So often, we actually have to stock up on new big centers. Van Gaal hopes to introduce a flexible striker who can adapt to multiple positions. Hoeneß said. Beckenbauer sneered, we can't be led by the Dutch. If we want to fully meet his requirements, we will almost have to replace our entire team lineup. Is this possible? We have a very strong lineup. If the Dutchman cannot play to the strength of this lineup, then he is not suitable to be Bayern's head coach. Beckenbauer said this very rudely. But this is the consensus of many Bayern executives and celebrities. This is also the characteristic of Bayern's team. Most of their senior leaders are famous players of their own teams. Celebrities are relatively knowledgeable about football. They also know that if they really follow Van Gaal's ideas to transform the team, the risk is too great. Not to mention. Is Bayern's lineup really bad? Not bad at all. Moreover, if we let Ronaldo go, we will have to spend at least 30 million euros to find a new striker next season. Now in the market, you can spend 30 million to find a player with the same scoring rate as Ronaldo and the same tactical value. The center forward? Beckenbauer is very optimistic about Luo Ye. Because there are too few pure centers like Luo Ye on the market now. Beckenbauer, who has come from the old era, is still very optimistic about big center players. Although now because of the rise of Barcelona. Some of the most fashionable words are tiki-taka, possession is king, forwardless formation, and so on. But Beckenbauer always felt that a big center has its value in any era. With a big center, the team can have a fulcrum and a bridgehead when attacking, and the offensive methods can be more diversified. When facing the iron barrel formation, a big center is also needed to attack. Anyway. The value of a big center is definitely greater than what those guys who are blinded by the popular ball-handling tactics and think the era of the center has passed imagine. And was influenced by this trend of thought. Big centers will probably continue to decline in the next few years. When everyone remembers the benefits of big centers, it will be difficult to find a qualified big center on the market. Therefore, Bayern Munich must keep Luo Ye no matter what. Big center. It is the soul of Bayern's tactical system. 6 million is still too high. He is only 18 years old. Hoeneß was still hesitant. Beckenbauer squinted at Hoeneß. This guy is a rich man from the bottom of the mountain, right? The price can be negotiated, Beckenbauer said. Franz, do you think so highly of Ronaldo? Rummenigge, who had been silent, suddenly asked. Do you think he can replace Mario as the front court offensive fulcrum that the team relies on? Not just the fulcrum, said Beckenbauer, even the core. Beckenbauer suddenly lowered his voice and said. Gentlemen, do you really think the Dutchman can stay at Bayern for how long? The problems in the dressing room are expanding. I think we should prepare for a rainy day, maybe, we have to bring Hanks back. Rummenigge and Hoeneß looked at each other. Hanks has done a great job at Leverkusen, and you ask him to leave Leverkusen to help Bayern put out the fire. Why? Sign him a direct core member in advance. Maybe you can impress him. Rummenigge nodded. Then, be sure to keep him. I will go talk to his agent. Hoeneß took a deep breath and said.